And then what? You know, because when you get into America, and that's the other thing, you remember, you walk around those houses, not every one of them is a nurse.
Yeah.
They could be a banker, they could be an actuary, they could be a lawyer, they could be a teacher.
Investor. Yeah.
It's a new palette. You're writing a new script for yourself when you land here. The
Yeah.
question is, how much do you want it? You see, I am just a I am just a means of access to show you what you can do, and which is what I always tell people. Look at me as an access point. I'll give you all I have, right? Find out more to yourself.
Born and raised in the motherland, chasing a better life. Story of an immigrant.
Concrete pastures.
Concrete pastures.
And
I didn't know that I was being recorded when I was on the show.
mhm.
And we talked about like nothing to do with why I was there first in the beginning. And we are just having a conversation. I'm just like, okay, what's happening? And he's like, oh, yeah, we're already recording. I'm like, seriously? Okay. But
it,
since it's you, we are recording.
it gives you a brief. Like when you're doing that, like at the end, when I do the end, I usually do those outtakes, and then people realize that there was a conversation that was talked about before, not just straight. There's that straight conversation that you had in the
Yeah.
beginning, and then now you have those outtakes where you kind of laugh about it. Some mistakes that you make.
um I used to do the wrap up, but I stopped doing the wrap up. It was just overwhelming for me. It was too much.
What about
But
questions? Rapid fire questions, like I do at the end of mine.
I do differently.
Ah,
Uh
okay.
yeah, I do mine differently. For the thing, I like your 5 questions. There's a lot of
Right.
people that actually do it. I think Chulu does it at the beginning. She has like her own thing. And then there's Jay Shady also does it also with 5 questions. I like yours. I think it's great. You get to know people, you know, different level. I think Raphael does it too. So for me, it's only one question that I normally really ask.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
trying to do this one where I use 5 questions, then you have two shot glasses. So you pick out the question that you don't want to answer, you take a shot glass, then you're obligated to answer three.
You gotta
You
have
can
something
pick.
in your shot glass.
Uh, well, I'm thinking about it to pretend that you're drinking a shot.
I love
So,
it. I love it. I'll drink my whatever is inside this.
yeah, it'd be nice. I'm thinking about incorporating that next year.
I love that. Listen, I love to reinvent myself all the time. Like from the time I started to now, it's like a different show
Yeah.
completely. And I'll continue to like think outside the box because I don't really live in a box. I like to go out the
True.
box and
True.
draw my lines and see how we can, make it better and more impactful for others. All right. Hello, family. Welcome back to Concrete Pastures. My name is Nancy Mulemwasisi. I am excited to have my fellow immigrants, my fellow African, and my second Kenyan guest. And before we actually get there, to get to meet our guest, I just want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in, for continuing to support us. And thank you to BetterHelp, our sponsor for this episode. And to all of our new listeners, welcome to the family of your fellow immigrants, your fellow dreamers. We inspire each other through our stories. We give insights on what it's like to be an immigrant anywhere in the world. We discuss issues that are important to us in the diaspora. We unlock the laughs, the joys, and the bravery that being an immigrant. Before you watch this episode, before you finish watching this episode, actually, please click the subscribe button. We are continuing to grow our community. And the more people subscribe, the more visibility we get, the more people we're going to be able to reach. So thank you in advance. And if you haven't downloaded our app, we do have our app. Concrete Pastures app is out on Google Play. Please uh, be sure to download it. It's completely free as well. You get a library to all of our material. Um, we have a lot in our library. Are you there? Support our merch. All right, I'm wearing one of them actually. Hey. Yes, you get to support our veteran that actually makes the merchandise. On today's episode, I am excited to introduce you to my brother from another mother. We are in the same community, Pad Break, a community of our fellow African creators. I don't want to say podcasters because not everybody's a podcaster in the community. I had to be very careful with that. So it's a community of creators that are Africans from all over the world. And I've been always intrigued with this gentleman and his podcast, what he covers. Yes, he's a fellow podcaster, of course. But I'm happy to have him here today. It's an honor to actually have him here today. I listen to him and it's just the way he talks. I'm curious for him to inspire us through his story today. So without further ado, his name is Stephen Batti, aka Sambaza. He is a family man, a podcaster, like I mentioned. He's been in the industry for 2 years now, and an avid diasporan. He has been in the IT industry for over 15 years now, and he loves traveling, something that I actually have in common with him. So welcome to the show,
Oh, thank you for
Steven.
having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to
I'm,
have this conversation. It's been a
I'm
minute.
glad to be here. I like that
Yeah.
intro.
Thank you, thank you. How are you? You are joining us from Dallas.
Yes, actually, I live in Forney, Texas. It's out of Dallas, about 30
Mm,
minutes away from Dallas. Yeah.
got you, got you. We're an hour difference. I'm ahead. It's 9 o'clock here. It's 8 over there. So thank you. I know it's early. Um, you are my fellow African. What we like to do here, we want to know what your life was like in Kenya before you traveled, you ventured into this immigrant world. How was life in Kenya?
Um, by the way, thank you so much for coming onto your show, and I really appreciate your uh, your ask for me to show up here. It's an honor, and
Thank you.
glad to be here.
Thank you.
My immigrant story. It starts off in Kenya, in a town called Mombasa, and I was born there so many years ago. And I lived a normal childhood. Originally, I'm from Kilifi. I'm part of a group called the Michikenda, which is actually 9 tribes. And out of the 9 tribes, I'm one of them, which is called Kambe. Very, very small. We're actually not on the verge of extinction, but we're very few. So that's where I grew up in Mombasa. Spent almost a lot of my childhood in an Asian school, uh, which was, I think, from, I don't know what they go by nowadays, but we'll go with grade one all the way kindergarten, and I did grade one to grade eight.
Yeah.
Passed my exams and went to this lovely school called Nairobi School. Um, a lot of the people who come to your show, if you tell them I was from Nairobi School, yeah, they laugh about it. Nairobi School is one of the prestigious schools, boarding schools, actually. This was the first time I actually happened to live away from my parents from, I think I was 13 to about 18. And it was a time of my life where now I started finding myself, where you now start to live on your own. I think we had a April vacation, August vacation, and then December. It was November and December where we
Mm,
would come back home. Otherwise, the rest of the year you were in school for about 4 years. So that was pretty much my life. and this was one of the best schools, and it was more to do with affirmative action. So I got to explain this. Was in my growing up, I think at some point affirmative action really works, because out of that school I met people from different places, because what they did was they chose two or three of the best kids out of the whole region, all of Kenya. By then they were called, they were not counties, they were districts. So they would pick up each kid, one of the best kids who chose a particular school. So that's how we ended up with kids from all over the country. And that set me up for, I think, my future years of right now, being able to coexist with people, because people came with different ideas, different attitudes, different backgrounds. And I mean, I learned every time as I grew on, because each year there would be new students coming in and going. So you would still have this idea of a mixture of all Kenyans. And I don't know if they still do it, but it's one of the things that does help people learn more, and I explored more, because if not, my life would have been in Mombasa, and I would have just grown up like a normal child in Mombasa, not having to explore a whole lot. So that's what catapulted me to now see the rest of the world. And after that, I started working. I went to college. This was, I went to do graphic design. So, interesting fact, I never tell people, but I am a retired artist. If you want to know, I used to do art. I used to paint a lot, draw a lot. My daughter is picking up that which I never told her. She does it on her own, and I'm happy about that. Hopefully, she'll take it up and get somewhere with it further than his daddy did. So I went to school for graphic design after I finished to what we call the Kenya Polytechnic. It wasn't the university, but it was like a step lower than the university. So after that, I secured a job. I was working, and life was life was good. I mean, everything was good, but I felt like there was something that was lacking at that point. Most of my friends were leaving to go out of the country. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and maybe I'm going to circle back and forth. I know it's about me, but all these things will come to make sense.
Yeah.
At around the time when I finished my high school, which should be about 1992, and we left work and I went to college. Kenya was experiencing some upheaval. That's when we were having multi-partyism coming in, and there was a lot of people who leave to go out of the country. So a lot of my friends were leaving to go out of the country, and even in my school, you had kids who were, remember, it was a mixture. And one of the things about our school was some of the kids were diplomats that came to study in the school, and parents who had money, who were wealthy, because it was one of the prestigious schools back in the day. There were only two. It was actually, it was one of the prestigious schools in terms of, it was a whites only school. Then it got Africans coming in. So a lot of parents wanted their kids to come to our school, and then after that they'd ship them out to the US or Europe, Britain and whatever. So majority of my friends I schooled with left and went to the US. So you hear somebody's going to the US, or when there was political upheaval, people would take off and go. So that's what set my motion to have the idea that, you know what, Kenya is not going to be the only place that I'm going to be at, and I want to see the world. Also, to add in, my dad went to school abroad. He went to the UK and studied there for a while. That's also what got me looking at it like, hey, you know what? If dad is going there, hey, I might as well go there. Why not? So I work, and there's one thing that I'll tell people, or people would want to know, is that when you get to work, remember I went to a college. I finished school earlier, and there were people who went to the university, so they were coming up later on. So in my mind, I was like, I got to make more money to be able to set myself up. But these people are coming later on. So, hey, when they come in, they're going to be making more money than you do. And then, hey, you fall under this economic scale where you're not making any money. So this is what happens for me is somebody comes to my workplace and say, hey, there's something called a green card. You can apply to go to the US. I was like, what? Green card? Okay, let's try it. So I tried, and I, as I'm trying, I am on my way to the UK to go and try to get kind of living. Actually, I was going to the UK to see if I could stay there, find if I could get other sources of either go to college or something, just change my visa from visiting and then go to college and stuff like that. 2 days in the UK, I get a notice, I get a call from a friend of mine back in Kenya, and they're like, hey, you know what? You got a green card. So I have a 6 month visa, and then I have this idea where okay, you're going to stay for 6 months and then you're going to move to the US. So I was like, hey, luck is always on my side. So I got
That's
everything done.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing. I
yeah,
didn't know Kenya actually had that because not all African countries have that. They're like selective countries that do have that option for applying for the green card.
yeah. They did. They were giving a cap. Like I think Nigeria now has is not eligible anymore. And some
My
other
country was
countries.
never on that list.
Oh,
Yeah, we,
wow.
we were never on that list. And maybe now, I don't know, but when I was coming in 2002, no, we were never on that list. I want to take you back to boarding school.
Okay.
Since you went to a prestigious school, like I want to just say it blankly because there's a lot of us. I went to boarding school too. Boarding school in Africa, like if someone goes to boarding school, that means your parents have to have some type of money to go to boarding school because people here look at it as it's like punishment for children to go to boarding school, but your parents have to have some type of change for them to be able to spare because it's expensive. They are paying for you to be in school for like 3 months. I was home literally like 1 month, uh, like maybe 4 months out of the year. Uh, uh, uh,
I
I was home.
I can safely say we were a middle class family. My dad worked for the government, and my mom was a teacher. So
But you
it was
have to be
tough.
able to afford it. It's tough. Like for us, like my mom put all three of us. It's three of us girls, so all three of us different schools. Me and my younger sister, we were in one school, and then the youngest one was in another school, which was actually more expensive than my school. But what was your experience there? Like, how was the food? I know you learned how to, to accept people's opinions around.
Oh,
How was the,
so let me explain about the school, and which I can kind of realize. Kids don't understand this when you're growing up. You only see a little bit. Parents only show you a speck of what you see.
yeah,
I used to catch my parents in conversations about what was going on, and I think they used to have like overdrafts. They used to get like overdrafts to take us to school. So it's like they'd get an overdraft and pay up and then pay up later. So it wasn't like
yeah,
they had
yeah,
cash.
yeah,
Um, the thing about my dad was that when he was growing up, uh, he never had fees, and actually he went to one of a better school than I did, which was called Strathmore. But then a long time ago, it was used to be a boarding school, and by the time I was going in, it was not a boarding school yet until they changed it. So I couldn't go to it. I wanted to go to that school. Uh, he never had he lacked fees like tuition to pay for his school. So that's the one thing he made sure you had first.
mhm,
Uh, you would have nothing else. But once the tuition is paid for, that's it. Then we'll look after the other things because that assures you you're not going to leave school like you told. Oh, you don't have any fees. You're going to leave. No, no. I think that was his embarrassed. I think he was embarrassed about it, if I may say so. And
yeah,
he wanted to make sure that that was his minimum. So with his kids, he wanted to make sure. Look, you have fees. Everything else will take care of itself. You go to school. There was food. Food was good. Um, I mean, we only ate weevils one time.
What's
Because
weevil?
most of the boarding schools, I talk to my friends right now, and they tell me the schools they used to eat food which had weevils in them, and it happened one time. And I remember this one time, and I'll say it to these people who come back to listen. There was a teacher called Mrs. Kabetu, and she walked into the dining hall because the teachers used to eat with us, and our head of house at that time was called Gishuhi. She stood up and told the cooks to take all the food out, and we had to be given, I think we were given tea and bread for that afternoon. And that was the last time I ever saw any food that had wheels in it. So food was good. We
Nice.
had eggs in the morning. We had eggs. Actually, we had eggs in the morning. 2 slices of bread. You had tea.
Eggs in the
Sunday you
morning.
had fried eggs. Yeah.
That's a dream.
We had custard, and pie on Thursdays. Yeah. And the other thing is ugali, which a lot of Kenyans like ugali, but in our school it was kind of like the prestigious school, the rich kids school, so they never liked ugali, and we never really had ugali so much. It was only on Wednesdays,
So
and then there was
ugali
maize
is
and
what?
beans.
Ugali is what?
It's Zimbabweans call it sadza. It's cornmeal that is cooked
Oh,
with
shima.
water.
We call it
Shima.
shima.
Okay,
Yeah.
shima. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't like
I
that,
didn't want
so
to
it was like.
assume because I was like, I know what I think it means that, but I didn't want to assume.
Yeah, so
Wait,
that was
guys
how
did not eat that?
we only
Ugali?
ate it, I think twice a week, which is odd because most of the schools ate that all the time.
Every
And
day, lunch and dinner for us.
see, and maize and beans, like maize and beans, we only ate maize and beans once a week on Thursday afternoon, and then there was rice pudding after that. So people would come in to eat the rice pudding and leave the maize and beans. And guess what? It
You were
wasn't
living
even.
the
It had no
life.
weevils.
You are living the life. You are living that's a dream for a kid. We were eating, you know what we had for breakfast?
Uh-huh.
We had like I don't know if you guys have this in your country, but they call it samp, but it's it's like the
Porridge?
polished corn,
Yes,
and it's boiled.
right.
And they were out of the corn they removed it from the corn itself. So they boil that, like, I guess all night, whatever, and you just they put a little bit of sugar in it and they slap that on your plate, and that was it for breakfast. So
Wow. So
you're eating
how?
chunks of maize.
No. Ours was very, very clean, crisp, and it had sugar in it, and you also had two slices of bread.
We don't know that life. Bread.
So you had porridge and then tea after that. So that was your breakfast.
I would have loved to have porridge. I don't even remember, I think, having porridge if my brain even saves me. But I samp, we called it samp. That's the most.
Oh,
Like when we had rice, that was a treat when we had rice.
the
So we
rice
would
was
have
every day.
ishima with beans. When we had meat, I became a vegetarian because of that.
Oh,
So I'd prefer
man.
to eat
You
soy
reminded me.
chunks. I'd prefer to eat soy chunks and not eat that red meat or whatever they were cooking.
Oh,
Chicken, oh my God. Maybe
we
we'd have like
had
once a quarter or
I
something,
think
or twice the max.
we had tea. We had tea in the morning and then tea at 4 o'clock with bread because
Wow.
your mandatory was 2 slices of bread. You always had 2 slices of bread, and people will fight over it, but you had 2 slices of bread you had to have. And then in the evening, after you finish your dinner, you also had 2 slices of bread.
My mother should have gotten a memo for us to go to your school.
My sister went to school that actually, which is what I was saying. It was kind of harder for my parents because my sister went to a school like that, and I did. It was one of the same caliber, and then my brother went to another provincial school, which was also the same caliber. So it was it was a lot for the parents.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's definitely not easy for parents, especially now. I just wanted to know like the experience because there's a lot of us that went to boarding school and definitely our experience. We learn a lot from our
Oh,
experiences.
we had it good. I don't know if
There.
they still have it there, but I mean, we had clothes. We were washed for clothes. They would wash your shirts, shorts, and ties. You know, you collect them yeah. You put it in a bag, and they'd come and do it, and you.
Wow, that is the life. We had Fridays. My school was a Seventh Day Adventist school, so we went to school Sunday through Thursday.
Right.
Friday, Saturday, of course, Friday we did activities. Yeah, I don't even want to get into those activities, but I love the morning portion of it, which was running. So I loved running, and then Saturday it was all day of church, and then Sunday back to school. But Friday would you that was your day to do your laundry, and it was a lot. So just imagine it was like more, I think maybe close to 500 kids because it's from grade 1 all the way to 11th grade. So you have
Oh,
all
okay.
of these people in different dormitories and stuff like that. But it was a lot. So the girls and the boys, it was,
Oh, yours was mixed.
yeah, ours was mixed, boys
No,
and
ours
girls.
was
My
not.
mom gave me an option to go to all girls school. I was just like, no. Being an immigrant can be hard. Having been away from my home country for over 20 years has allowed me to experience these hardships firsthand. Throughout my journey, I've had a lot of challenges that were hard to bear. Juggling adjustment to a new country, obtaining my immigration papers, getting married, having children, establishing my career, and finding time for myself. Even though I've always had faith, I also relied on therapy, which gave me the tools to cope with the issues life brought me. My fellow dreamers, let's remove the stigma around therapy and normalize seeking help with today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Go to betterhelp.com/concrete pastures for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help in as little as 48 hours.
We had to we had to go to all boys. My sister went to an all girls, and
Mm.
yeah, it had its fun. I mean,
I
you
love
want to
that
be
my
in an
mom
all
gave me
boys
an
school,
option. But instead of
right?
forcing me to go, I love that she asked me, "Do you want to go?" And it was actually a better school than where I was.
Hmm.
But I think I like the mixture. Most of my best friends were guys. I always gravitated towards the opposite sex. I don't know why, but I just get along with them better compared to same sex.
Well, us, we know we never used to see them. So whenever girls, a school bus for girls came around, we were like, hey, scrambling around, looking at the windows, like, hey, hey.
But I
But
can imagine because it's like torture for you guys. They leave you in.
right. But
Yeah.
it was the same with my sister. So they would do the same thing. And
Yes,
hey,
I would imagine I'd do the same thing if I went to all girls school and having all boys a mixed one. I got to learn the same way like you had like diplomat kids come to your school. Same thing for us. We had like diplomat schools, people from Angola, from Tanzania, like different countries. They came to our school, and I got to learn like their culture through them that way, like their food, their how their country is, of course. But it's definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience. For me, it's a vital one.
and speaking about that, there was a guy who we were friends with. He actually was from the US. He was called Okello because we always go by the last name. So you never go by your first name. First name
Ah,
Stephen, last name no. When you get to school, you always go by their last name. So in right now, as an adult, if you call me by my first name, there are two things which will strike in my mind. Either you knew me from primary school, or you knew me from around the area, or you knew me later on in college. But if you mention me, if you call me by my last name, my first instance will be you must be from my high school because
Ah,
nobody calls you by your last name.
was that
Nobody
the rule
calls
for
by
the
first name.
school, or is that how it
Yeah,
is
I think.
in Kenya?
Yeah, I don't know why maybe it was for like we have English names and then you have your traditional names. So I guess on the register they'd rather go with the traditional names. I don't know why. But that's a nice thing. I'll try to find out and ask why they do that. It's nice.
Oh,
It's interesting. Hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
interesting. All right, so I'll jump fast forward. I just wanted to get that experience. Fast forward to where you were talking about art. My daughter does art. She's actually pretty good. She was doing it for quite some time, but then I can't afford it now. It's expensive here.
Mm.
I'm still going to put her into it. 'Cause I'm not an artist. I think she gets it from my father's side because he's very creative. Um, but why did you start?
Oh, then now you're coming into what when I got to America, why I made that decision.
You
Um,
started art in Kenya, no?
right, I started art in Kenya. I mean, since I was young, from the time I was in primary school, I used to draw. I used to copy stuff. I used to do all these things, and then the talent was there. People knew that I could do that, and I continued all the
Oh,
way to college. And I mean, I wanted to focus on it, which is weird because whenever I was growing up, I said, I wish I wouldn't have to study math, geography, and everything else. I wish I
yeah.
would have taken some
That's the
art school.
artist people. They're like that. For me, it was
Right,
dance. For me,
right.
it was
So
dance. Yeah.
I wish I was taken to a school where I would live like morning, I'd do sculpture, midday, drawing stuff, then evening, painting and stuff like that. All that incompensated, but that wasn't the case. So I had to go by my high school and then college is when I started concentrating on that. And so I get to the US. Um, First thing when I get here, I look at the options. I'm like, okay, do I see at that time they don't have like art, and I was like, do I see one thing about, and I was talking, we were having this conversation the other day, and I'll tell all the immigrants, we always say this: the person who picks you up at the airport and the city that you land in determines your future in America. Facts. Everybody says that, and you'll agree with me because if the person who brings you out, and this is what I say, if I bring out somebody and I drive them, most of the time I drive them around. I don't take them home immediately. I take them to the rich neighborhoods and I show them the houses, and then I take them back to where I am. Why do I do that? Personally, is to show you what you can be. Don't be tied down to just seeing where I'm at. No, there's somebody else who has a bigger house somewhere else. So you might want to look into that and say, okay, I want to be like that guy. I should not be your standard. Look up ahead. So that's one of the things that I learned
I love that you
from.
bring that point, actually. When I first came here, um, my aunt's boyfriend at the time used to drive me um around because I didn't get a job right away. So at night when he finished work, I'm so grateful for him. He would drive me from, we used to live in the Bronx, and he would drive me from the Bronx, drive me to where they had like the same thing you're saying, nice big houses, and then would end up on Times Square. And it's gorgeous during the night. You get to see the bridges, Washington Bridge, while we were driving all the way, and then we get um, to the city, and I get to see Times Square. And you talking about that, it actually I'm working on an episode where I'm talking about this actually. Um and also the when I worked as a babysitter, my second job for babysitting, I was living the 1% type of life. And you get to dream a bigger dream for yourself. when you get to experience that and you get to see the Hamptons and the big houses that they have there, the uh, ocean front row houses, like you get to dream bigger. So I'm glad that you do that for others when they come. This way, they're just not limited to what they are exposed to, but you get to see this is the dream. Not don't
Right.
dream mine, but this is the
And
dream. This is what I'm working towards too,
yeah,
or
and
something.
another thing with the also when you say now being an immigrant, before I talk about myself, right?
Yeah, 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 of
And
course.
I'll tell you this: when you bring somebody here, the first thing they'll tell you, and I don't know whether it happens to Zambians and other people. Most of them want to do nursing. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
this idea of nursing is it, okay, fine. I'm not counting out that nursing is not a good job. But when somebody comes in, the first thing I ask them, okay, what do you want to do? They tell me nursing. And then I ask them, and then what? And then what? You know, because when you get into America, and that's the other thing, you remember, you walk around those houses, not every one of them is a nurse.
yeah.
They could be a banker, they could be an actuarist, they could be a lawyer, they could be a teacher.
Investor. Yeah,
It's a new palette. You're writing a new script for yourself when you land here. The
yeah,
question is, how much do you want it? You see, I am just a I am just a means of access to show you what you can do, and which is what I always tell people. Look at me as an access point. I'll give you all I have, right? Find out more to yourself.
mm,
When you see those people in those houses, you get a good feeling. Because imagine if you came and stayed with Kenyans, right? You stay around Kenyans, what we would do, we'd talk the same language, would share the same ideas. Everything would go around, would circle around Kenyans.
yeah.
Your attitudes will only be with the Kenyan. So you have the Kenyan attitude, you just moved it to the US, add a few things. Your accent won't change because, hey, they understand you. So you're going to be close knit, right? Which is good because you don't get homesick.
It's
But what does
familiar.
that create? Right, you're more familiar. But what does it create? It still stops your mind. Whereas if you're left like a lone person or you start exploring or you're encouraged to explore, you will learn about the culture. You learn more about what's out there. You bring it back to this to your people and you learn more. It's all about sharing. But if you get stuck with this idea of, oh, we're going to sit over here, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So that's the short version of how I came to decide on what I want. So uh, unless you have any questions before we continue
No, no, no.
on
Continue. Continue.
okay. So I get in here and I look at the design aspect of it, and I didn't have any options of seeing what design could lead me. I think at that time they were calling it branding,
Mm,
and I didn't understand the concept. And the places that you'd go to college, they weren't that many. And I was also struck with the fact that I did not see somebody in their late 50s. You see, one thing is, if you see an old doctor, you'll say, okay, you know what? There's longevity in being a doctor. I see
yeah.
myself getting somewhere. But
Mm,
I do not see a designer. There's no designer that I see in old age. So I said, okay, what else is there an option for? So I chose IT because that was the thing that was there, could bring me money, and I needed money. So being an immigrant, hey, jump into it. So I went to a college called DeVry University, where I studied communications. So I learned everything to do with TCOM, telecommunications, and that's how I got myself into what was at that time I was working for Verizon. So I started working for Verizon and stuck in there, and that has been Verizon until they sold off to another department,
got it.
our department, right, rather. So they sold it off to Frontier.
Mm.
So Frontier is a company that I'm working at right now as what we call a network engineer. Nothing fancy. What I usually tell people if they want to know what my job description is in, in short form is I tell them, hey, when somebody comes to your house to fix your internet and your phone service and everything else, and they're not able to fix it, and they tell you, "Excuse me, ma'am, I gotta go outside to talk to somebody to help me." Now, when they go outside, they're calling me, asking me, "Hey, boss, what's going on over here? I can't fix it in this house." So
Got it.
that's how well, that's the basis of what it is. I have
Noted.
progressed even
Yeah.
further, and that's it in a nutshell. And the experience has been good. Being in Dallas, it
Yeah.
has afforded me opportunity. Why I hadn't left the company was because they had very good benefits,
Okay.
allowed me to grow, and I think with with life stability was something that I prefer. So with the stability, I realized one thing with America, which a lot of people know, it's not like where other countries where you move in, you get your time, like your vacation time and everything all up in a lump sum. No, you have to earn it in a while. So like you only get 2 weeks vacation when you start a new job. Anywhere you go to, they have
Yeah.
that. Others change. Um, so with this type of job that I have, you had to earn your way into it. So I've earned my time, and with being in the industry for now, I came in 2001 actually, and right up to date, I think it's almost 20 years plus,
Yeah.
almost. I think 19. I think last time I saw it was 19. Yeah, yeah, it was
So
19 years.
20, oh, nice. 20 years.
But I didn't start with Verizon, by the way. I did go to other places, which is, it is a very good thing to also work because I did work 2 jobs. I'm not a person that works only one job. I slept on the floor too. So I start off, I come to America. Friends are here. So my friends were here. So I moved into Arlington area, Arlington, Texas. Nice neighborhood. So I worked 2 jobs. I used to work at a call center and worked at a gas station. Um, So I used to, man, this was crazy. So I used to work from 3 o'clock till midnight. Then right after midnight, I'd log out and then drive to the gas station 30 minutes later. So I used to get to the gas station 30 minutes late. And then I'd work until 8 o'clock, go back to sleep. And then at about noon, I'd be up, and then my day was done. I was off Sunday, Monday. So that means my days off were staggered so that I could have enough time to sleep and kind of move
For
around.
both from both jobs?
Yeah, from both jobs. One was kind of not one of those permanent. It wasn't
It was
it
like
wasn't part
part-time.
time, part time. Yeah,
Gotcha.
the one for the well, let's say blockbuster campaign. It was called Ages. It
Mm.
was the one that was permanent. Then the other one was so 40 hours when you say permanent, full time. Sorry, say full time, permanent. And then
Yeah.
the other one was part time. So it was hours of stagger here and there, but it was good. It afforded me, buying a car, getting settled, um, learning the culture. Um, then I stopped there. Now, interesting thing. So when you come and work 2 jobs, somebody tells you, hey, your mindset is you can work 2 jobs. They told, hey, you can work only one job and one job will feed you. It was hard to leave that one job. But I did it. So I went to work for Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was a bank. So now remember, I know how to make calls, talk to people, which
Yeah.
was also a problem because now your accent, you have to change your accent to learn how to speak to people on the phone.
The
Then
pronouns.
exactly. Then I learned about the gas station because remember, I never knew about money. In Kenya when I came green, one thing about Kenyan notes is that from the 20 to the 100, all of them are different sizes. I don't know if they've changed them right now. So a
Oh,
20 would be a
wow.
different size. Yeah. Now, the
Not here.
American money is the same
Not
size.
here.
Yeah. And then I got confused with the dime and is it the 10 and 10 and 20. Up to
Okay.
date, I'm still confused.
Wait, the quarter,
No,
nickel,
quarter
dime,
I'm good. What's below
penny,
that? Penny, no, penny I'm good. Between the penny and the,
a
what's the
dime,
next? The dime.
nickel,
Yeah, five and what's
nickel,
the 10?
nickel, and
Nickel
quarter.
and dime. Yep, nickel and dime. That's the one that I'm
So you only
always
know the
confused on.
quarter and the penny.
Yeah, but in between, I'm still confused up to date.
Nickel
20
and
years
dime?
of, yeah, 20 years,
Come
I'm
on, it's
still
been a
confused.
while.
Nah. With Cash App now, oh, online, we don't have to deal with coins. Hey, don't worry about it.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So I learned now, it was good because now I learned how to count notes, make change, balance, and then also now working with a call center, I know how to talk to people, how to be
Oh,
courteous
you
with
were in the call center with
call
Wells
center.
Fargo.
Yes, yeah. No, yeah, both, yeah. But now this is banking. So now you
Yeah.
learn about the banking system, how the
Mhm.
banking system works,
Yeah.
which actually made me now become more open to how to deal with money and what have you. And then thereafter, I moved to another. The last company was called Viking. Now, Viking was office supplies. It was a tiny company, office supplies. They used to buy and sell supplies here and there, and yeah, that was a supplies company. Then that's when I was actually at that time was when I was in college. So I decided, hey, you know what? I got to stop these two jobs because I have to concentrate on school. Money
Yeah.
isn't the only thing.
Uh-huh.
Play the long game. Start
Yes.
with what you start with. Get the little bit you can. Get your households everything paid, or get loans for your school, and after that, you get ahead.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to stop and do one job, and then thereafter I ended up going to work with Verizon because actually the same time as when I was doing my degree, my college degree, and they were doing this fiber optics. Because fiber optics was the new thing happening, and I remember the professor coming in and saying, "Hey, you know what? Fiber optics has just started in Kela. That's one of the towns in Kenya." And I'm like, I'll wait until I graduate. Then somewhere in between, I was like, "Oh, what the heck? Let me just apply." I wish I'd done before that because I'd be very senior
Uh,
in the company at this time. But hey, it's all about fate. So I applied and I got in and stuck in there. But it was good. It was good.
nice.
Life has been good.
When we come here, we have challenges that we face. What are some that you would like to share? Some of the challenges that you face. You said you've shared some good stuff.
Now, one challenge I would have is access to information.
Mm,
So remember what I said: the first people who come are the ones who determine the most. The conversation that we had, they said, if you land in Minnesota, you're more than likely to be in the trucking business or something like that. If you land in Boston area, this is for Kenyans. If you land in the Boston area, you're most likely going to be in medicine. If you land, excuse me, if you land in New York
mhm.
area, most of the time you're probably going to end up in corporate. Banking, DC, same thing. Yeah, because that's what is around there. So if the people you meet are telling you, hey, this is it, this is what you're seeing, that's what you're going to go for. Now, I don't know about Texas. Texas is
New York is more diverse. I would add to that it's very diverse, but you on point saying talking about corporate with New York. But like everybody else, I started with nursing. Even my mom was like, "Why are you doing nursing?" She even asked me, it's like, in my head, I'm like, "That's what everybody else is doing." So you had the point with that.
that's the hardest thing to do because nursing has money, no lie.
It
Us
does.
cutting off from the nursing part to doing what you want to do in life, that is really, really hard. And a majority of Kenyans usually have that problem. There are two problems. One, access to funds. Now, as a green card holder, I think I'll say this: it's a fairy tale, but you have to learn. You have to learn and unlearn a lot of things.
Yeah.
Number one, as much as they say you have access to a lot of things, you still have to get your credit done. You know, you have to have credit, because once you don't have credit, there's nothing they know. There's nothing they know of you. Excuse me. Sorry, they don't
Okay.
know you,
Mm-hmm.
and if they don't know you, you're not moving anywhere. And if you don't have a history, then you're not going to be able to get, um, to go to college on loans. Two, when you want to get access to these scholarships, at our time, not many people are talking about the scholarships. Then when you come to do the scholarship, what are you going for? What is available to you? There is no database that you would go around. And I think at about the time that I was coming in the 90s, that's when the internet was trying to pick up, the 2000s, that's when the internet was picking up better than what it was before. Because I think there was a time it fell, there was a crash, the internet had some, I think there was a crash then and then came back up. So it was coming back up before we had the Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
So it was still at its young stage. So not a lot of information was available. So those are the challenges that you had. Another one of the challenges is when you go to work. For me, I had a problem with people with the accent, first of all. Lucky for me, from where I come from in Michikenda, we don't have a lot of the accent is not heavy. And then I think the school that I went to, being that they were not, they kind of forced you to learn English, and you kind of knew a whole lot of things. Oh, I wanted to add this in. When I went to my school, we used to use a fork and a knife. You know, yeah, yeah.
You're just showing off now. I
No,
bet.
no, no. This is interesting because
Wow.
when
A
I
fork
grew up
and a
in my
knife?
right, you had to use a fork and a knife. Yeah, it had to be placed there, and you had to use it every single day.
Damn.
Uh,
My mom should have gotten a memo. Let's go to Kenya and go to Nairobi. And she had been to Nairobi. And I'm like, okay.
but it was teaching you. Remember, I was telling you this is a culture shock, because when I grew up in my home, we only had two spoons in our drawer. You know who the spoons were for? My grandmother, my grandfather from my mother's side, because they never used to eat with their hands. So we used to eat with their hands everything. So imagine this: you come into your boarding school and you have to use a fork and a knife. You learn that for 4 years. I had to learn that. Then the spoon too.
In our house, the only time you used a fork and a knife was when you eating rice. And no, we actually ate rice with a spoon.
No, 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 we didn't. No, no, hands. That's one thing. Hands,
Really?
and then yeah, and the fork. By the way, the fork was there only when we were eating fries, what we call chips. We call them chips, but
Yeah, we call them
fries.
chips too.
Right. That's the only time, and I don't think they were enough. I think we only had like about maybe two, three. Yeah, they never used to be enough.
Wow,
Knives were just sitting over there,
interesting.
but I know the spoons were only two for my grandmother and my grandfather.
Interesting. I lived with my grandmother for quite a bit. I don't think we had like I think it's kind of similar. I think we had maybe two spoons or something, but that was for rice, which was a rare thing that we ate. Like if we ate rice, it would be with sour cream, that and sugar. That's it. And
Oh, you're
then
talking about okay? That is called maziwa. Now, hey, maziwa, you have to no, hey, you have to use it with that ugali thing. It doesn't no, not with rice, ugali. Now I
yeah,
don't know I don't know if it tastes
no,
well
we
with you
we
guys.
did with the shima also
Yeah,
sour
shima,
cream.
yeah.
We did that as well, but sometimes with rice or sometimes with the shima. So we did both and then sugar. But with shima, yes, it tastes much better with shima for
When I get
sure.
home, every single time I always buy, then make a shima and I have to eat, even if it's just a slight. I have to do that.
Yes, yes. The I don't know. I think my grandmother used to, like, she would eat regular shima with relish, And then I guess that was like dessert. So she'll have it like with sour cream and sugar at the end. So it was like a thing to do.
So again, that's the other thing you learn from back. It's that like I experienced a different culture in the high school, which
Yeah.
is what sets me up when I go to restaurants here in the US. When I get in here, I'm not thrown off. When I go to a restaurant, I can eat, I can do that. Though the first thing is, getting to a restaurant, getting a credit card first time to use it. Um, those are the things I don't comprehend, right?
Yeah.
Difficulty was language. Now the language, school made me know how to speak, even though it was with a Kenyan accent, right? But
Yes.
it was different. And I remember when we started working at Verizon, there were Kenyans, a lot of Kenyans,
Yeah.
which is one thing about when we were younger, with the Kenyan community. When they
You
heard there was
guys
a
have a
job,
lot of population in Texas of Kenyans?
yeah, there's a lot of population. There's huge populations. Kenya, it's not Kenya. It's Kenyans are in Dallas Fort Worth area, and then Minnesota, and then DC, and California. So whenever you hear musicians coming to Kenya from Kenya to come and do
Perform?
instruments, or politicians coming, this is the places that they go to. They go to
Uh-huh.
Dallas. Dallas is a must.
I mean, they're coming to
Minnesota,
perform for you guys. So
right. So they have to go to the cities that have the most people. So that's where they choose, and then people
nice.
from the outlying states can come in easily. So
Got it.
that's why we say we have a high population. So I remember we used to sit at work, and people would ask us, "How come I'm able to hear you well, but I'm not able to hear this other guy, and you're from the same country?" That's when you're like, "Okay, what are you saying?" But now you learn the culture. Again, remember, this is a new culture. You meet new people. They're teaching you new ways, and then
Yeah.
you learn the the about the white people. Um, Remember, now you're intermingling with African Americans. You have the Mexicans,
Yeah.
and then you have the
Asians,
Asians, and then you have the white
European.
people, the Europeans, and the white people.
Yeah.
And remember, when we're back home, it's white and black. If you're Mexican, you're white. We don't know you, whatever. And then there's Indian. Indian, you can't call an Indian man and white man. No,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
African American Indian is American Indian. They're
Yes.
Native Americans.
Yeah.
There's no distinction about that. You have to now learn the distinction. African Americans, yeah, they're black, but they don't talk like you. So at work, there was that learning different cultures, how they talk, how they speak, how you interact with them, what not to say. Um, I'll tell you this. So this guy called Virgil, we went to actually he was in DeVry with me, but I did not know how he spoke. So he was from Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and remember, I'm in Kenya, I'm fresh off the boat, as I say.
Yeah.
He starts talking to me. Now, when you're talking to me, I need you to talk to me, and I'm looking at you in your face, like, hey, one on one.
Yes.
Virgil does not talk to me while looking at me. Virgil looks away. I cannot respond to him. It took me about 6 months before I could approach Virgil and we could sit and have a conversation. That's how long it took for me to understand an African American. And okay, fine, we can talk. But Virgil, I could not talk. I avoided Virgil and others because he would look away. And if I don't see your mouth moving, I can't tell what you're saying. Luckily, we had some Zimbabweans who we worked together, and this is the beginning. And yeah, we kind of got together and created our own African community, and then we started going on. And many years later, I also came to realize, with the accent, you and I, if we work together, and you have your accent and I have my accent, after a while, you'll understand the words that you say,
Yeah.
and I understand the words that you say.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody else from God knows where, you plant them in today, and they start hearing you speak, they'll be like, what is she saying? Or me, like, what is he saying? I'm like, no, you don't know what he's saying. I mean, I know, you know. So those are the things that you have to learn with the culture. Learn with your culture, learn what's around you. And as an immigrant, you do have a lot of stress. Stress because I think one of the things is when you come here, you have to get a clean slate. It's not an it's an open book, right? You can write your own book, but
Yeah.
you have to realize one thing: you gotta calm yourself down, and then you start off afresh. It's open for you, but that's your mindset. I had a hard time settling in because remember I told you I was in the UK for 5 months.
Yes.
I used to use a train, so I'd get onto the train,
Hmm.
sit, and by the way, British are very quiet. They don't talk a lot on the train. No, 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 no. Get your newspaper, sit in the newspaper, read. When your station comes, you get out, right? The only time I came to know that Americans allowed is one day on a weekend. I was going somewhere, and a family or from the US were visiting their British people, and they walked into a train, and guess what? They were the loudest. And everybody just looked around like, what is wrong with these people? You gotta keep calm. So when I get to the US, I'm already used to. I sit down with my newspaper, and I read the newspaper. I come to the US, I can't. I have to drive to work, which is about 20 minutes away. We don't have cars around. We have no, we don't have buses. We have only cars. So in order to move anywhere, you had to have a car. Shout out to those people who had, like you guys had trains,
This
you
is why I'm
subways, you
stuck
moved.
in New York.
I,
I didn't drive for all of these years. I just started driving 2020, 2021. I just started. Yeah, I just started driving. I got my car in 2021.
because the systems are made to
The,
be
the, the whole time I was
favorable.
taking the train to the city, which is Manhattan, and I would go to work. For 13 years, I worked in Manhattan, and the train was taking me everywhere. And then we have buses almost in every corner, and then we have taxis everywhere. So there's no shortage of public transportation. I would say that. Like living in New York, you don't have to have a car at all. I only got it because I'm now by myself. When I was married, we had a family car, but I didn't drive it.
You're making the good money. Just say making some good money.
No,
Making some good
no,
money. Because I know parking is very expensive.
parking is expensive.
See?
Parking is expensive. The building I live in, we have
Oh, they have parking.
I'm putting my I park downstairs. They have parking underneath our building, so I don't have to look for parking. But we do have public parking. Again, there's parking around,
How
but
much
you
is
have
it?
to move your car. No, public parking is not. It doesn't cost you anything unless you park on a meter. On a meter, you have 2 hours. You move it, or we have the app now. So when I go to work, honestly, I park my car on a meter most of the times if I can't find anywhere else, because there's cleaning also. You have to be conscious of that, otherwise you get a ticket. So when you park your car, you have 2 hours on there. So it's like $4 for 2 hours. And then I use the other side of the opposite side, there's have a different meter. So I have the app, so I just cheat the app itself. Like I kind of moved my car, but I didn't really move my car. So I use the opposite for 2 hours because it only allows you to park for 2 hours only.
And then
So
how
if
much
you
is it? How much is
switch
it for 2 hours and then the whole
4 hours,
8 hour
$4,
days?
$4. So every
All
day it's
right,
like
multiply
$12.
that. And then when you put in the see, I'm telling you, yeah, you got some good money.
Hey, I beg.
But now, what's interesting
I'm
is also I'm saying,
fortunate to have
yes.
to
No,
have
I'm
it.
just
I'm blessed. My job actually for 2 months they've been paying for parking, so which was good.
yeah, I understand. I'm just
It was a gift they're giving to the employees.
best employee. top employee.
It's all.